have no intention of fighting with Europe. I've said this 100 times already. But if Europe suddenly wants to fight us and starts, we are ready right now. There can be no doubt about that. If Europe suddenly wants to start a war with us and does so, it's very likely that a situation will arise very quickly where there will be no one left for us to negotiate with. If this continues, we will consider the possibility, I'm not saying we will do it, but we will consider the possibility of taking countermeasures against the ships of those countries that help Ukraine carry out these pirate actions. Here, from this foothold, from this sector, it is convenient for the Russian army to advance in any direction it considers most promising. The General Staff. The Europeans are not staying silent. They're upset that they've supposedly been excluded from the negotiations. But I want to point out that no one excluded them. They excluded themselves. For a while, we had close contact with them, and then suddenly they abruptly cut off contact with Russia. That was their initiative. Why did they do that? Because they adopted the idea of inflicting a strategic defeat on Russia, and apparently are still living under these illusions. Messages, but upon carefully observing that particular situation, they don't like the result today either. They started actively interfering with the current United States administration and President Donald Trump in achieving a lasting peace through extensive negotiations. They themselves adamantly refused any peace negotiations and deliberately obstructed President Trump's significant efforts. A party that has no control whatsoever over Russian objectives. That's the third point. They have no peace agenda. They are on the side of war. And even when they supposedly try to introduce some changes to Trump's proposal, we can see this clearly. All these changes are aimed at only one thing: at blocking the entire peace process altogether, to put forward demands that are absolutely unacceptable for Russia. They understand this. And in doing so, to later blame Russia for the collapse of this peace process. So was it suggested that your foreign colleagues, and even therefore if they want to return, to really come back to reality based on the situation that is unfolding on the ground, as they say in such cases, then by all means we allow for that possibility. We have no intention of fighting with Europe. I've said this 100 times already. But if Europe suddenly wants to fight us and starts, we are ready right now. There can be no doubt about that. The only question is, over what? If Europe suddenly starts a war with us, I think it will be over very quickly. This isn't Ukraine. In Ukraine, we are acting in a very surgical, extremely careful, and highly precise manner. Just so we are absolutely clear about this, right? This is not a war in the direct modern sense of the word. If Europe suddenly wants to start a war with us and does so, it's very likely that a situation will arise very quickly where there will be no one left for us to negotiate with. The same applies to be continued. But what the Ukrainian armed forces are doing now is piracy. But what? What countermeasures can we take? First of all, we will significantly expand the comprehensive range of our strategic strikes against all port facilities and all ships, specifically those vessels that actively enter Ukrainian ports and waters. First. Second, if this continues, we will consider the possibility, I'm not saying we will do it, but we will consider the possibility of taking countermeasures against the ships of those countries that help Ukraine carry out these pirate actions. Well, the most radical way is to cut Ukraine off from the sea. Then it would be impossible for them to engage in piracy at all. This city has been and continues to be of interest both to the Ukrainian side and to the Russian armed forces. Indeed, it truly holds a very special and profound significance, because this remarkable city is not just the large infrastructure hub connected to an entire network of communication routes with the region. But most importantly, in a very general sense, to utilize precise military terminology, this strategically important position is indeed a very good and solid foothold for successfully accomplishing all the primary objectives that were carefully set at the very beginning of the special military operation. From here, from this foothold, from this sector, it is convenient for the Russian army to advance in any direction it considers most promising. The General Staff. That is precisely why it has always been designated by the Ukrainian side as one of the priorities in the DPR, but also by our armed forces as well, along with a number of other fortified areas. And this was also one of the powerful fortified areas. And today it is completely in the hands of the Russian army, as was reported just recently by the commander of the Center Group. This question apparently arises because there are still doubts as to whether this is really the case. If anyone has doubts, we've already talked about this, I've already made this suggestion. So what? It was suggested that your colleagues, foreign and even Ukrainian, please, we are ready to grant this right to Ukrainian journalists, visit the significant city of Krasnoarmeysk and truly see with their very own eyes what is actually happening there and precisely who is genuinely controlling this entire area.
Earlier today, Putin claimed it had captured Pokrovsk in Donetsk, raising Russian flags and announcing a major victory just as peace talks began with the United States.
Comrade Nikolai Malkovadovich, Joint Group Forces carrying out mission per SMO plan, Chief General Staff Harold Roman, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, comrades.
Officers, comrades, commanders, and tax officials, participants of the meeting, as soon as the Chief of the Main Operations Directorate is ready. Comrade officers, attention please.
Dear comrades, good afternoon. We will conduct the southern site. The commander reported on the situation in his area of responsibility.
The North Troop Grouping has completed the liberation of the city of Volchansk today. In addition, as part of establishing a security zone near the border areas of the Sumy and Kharkiv regions of Ukraine, in November, 3 more settlements in this area came under our control. These are Sinelnikovo, Tsegelnoye, and
Dvorichanskoye, a settlement in Ukraine.
The Center Troop Grouping has liberated the city of Krasnoarmeysk and continues to destroy enemy units in Dimitrov. In addition, part of the grouping's forces is successfully advancing in the Dnipropetrovsk region.
Liberation of the city of Krasnoarmeysk. At present, search and destruction of the remaining forces is underway.
This is an important direction. We all understand how important it is. And this will ensure for us the steady and unwavering resolution of all the primary and most important tasks that we currently face and that were initially set at the very beginning of the special military operation. Overall, we are observing that the troops of the joint grouping are increasing pressure along the entire front line. In recent days, control has indeed been established over several large settlements that are of significant importance for further actions. Regarding the liberation of the entire territory, including those areas that are still under enemy control, the commander of the Center Troop Grouping, Valery Nikolaevich, during our meeting on October 25th, reported on the encirclement of the AFU grouping in the Krasnoarmeysk-Dimitrov agglomeration area. Valery Nikolaevich, just to confirm, Chief of the General Staff, is the city of Krasnoarmeysk in our hands?
Yes.